guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I am Mike. Thanks for taking a moment of your day to spend it with me today. Today we are talking the Outwaters. I'm going to do it first, a regular review with no spoilers in it whatsoever. Then at the end of the video, we're going to talk spoilers, and then we're going to talk about what I think actually happened here. So the Outwaters is out in some theaters right now. It's coming to digital pretty soon. Don't have an exact date yet, I don't think. But it's about 4 musicians who are like indie, folksy kind of musicians who go out into the Mojave Desert, do a little photo shoot for their album, little songwriting, stuff like that. And then when they get there, however, they start hearing these loud booms in the sky that sounds like far-off explosions, and the next thing you know, the movie turns into this gory fuckfest of mayhem and dread and just gonzo hellscapes that are just happening all around them, and the camera's flailing around and you're hearing crazy stuff and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then the movie ends and you try to piece together for yourself exactly what happened. And that's kind of the Outwaters. And it's important to know that these people are still technically missing, and we are watching this based on some memory cards found out in the desert. True found footage style. Snicky. Love it or hate it, we just had a frustrating horror experience with what happened with Skinamarink. Now, I absolutely loathed it. I just couldn't get into it. Didn't do it for me. It was like putting a cheese grater on my nuts. But don't take my word for it, because half the people absolutely love that movie and it scared the shit out of them. I was just in the camp of people who just did not get. Last guy did not get. You got. You big, me small. What movie is that from? Comment down below. Now, the Outwaters, unfortunately, is also a frustrating horror experience, but there's much more that it gives you to work with. So after this 911 call that opens up the movie, that's fucking haunting. You can kind of sit back, relax, enjoy your popcorn and sody pop a little bit, because the next 30 or 40 minutes we're really just getting to know these people. Now, there's 2 mindsets about this. On one mindset, they made us sit and watch these people and get to know these people so that later on in the movie, when they're getting butt-fucked by Satan's Legion, we'll actually have deep sympathy for them and we'll be more scared and more into the movie than otherwise. On the other hand, you can look at it as, man, you gotta chop that thing down by about 20 or 25 minutes, because there's something about getting to know characters in found footage films that makes that time just lag by. So yeah, I could definitely trim 20 minutes off of that, but to be fair, I could trim 20 minutes off about 90% of the movies that have come out the past 20 years. That's just me. I like short movies. So we get to know them, and they all go out to the desert, and then they spend some time in the desert, and they're writing music, and they're talking about their music. But at some point it was like, we get it. I know you like to go out in the desert and get fucked up and play your hippie songs, but I don't need to hear the song 47 times. Oh, the pretty little horses. And I swear to God, if you cry one more time, this one's too emotional. Now, when you hit that point and shit starts to hit the fan, the sound shines. The audio of all this shines, because they bring all this equipment out because they're recording music and ambient sounds and stuff like that for their album. So they have all this equipment, and that's just where the movie works. From the opening 911 call when you're hearing the screams to the little sounds you hear throughout, the whole thing is really about audio as much as it is visual. And that works for a movie that doesn't have the budget to really show off the things that they want to show. They use the audio. The audio's 10 out of 10. Scary business, devil man. It's what Wes Craven used in The Last House on the Left, when you could hear the bad things happening off the screen. And when you hear people screaming for their moms, or the screams that you hear and things like that, and the gurgles and all that nasty shit, it really does start to unsettle you deep down in your cockles. And for those of you who have seen it, the little screamers, they can get fucked right now. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. I have a theory about those things. So as great as the audio in the Outwaters is, the editing is one of the more frustrating aspects for it. Because like I said, you waited around 40 minutes, right? You earned these scares. So when the scares start happening and you think we are about to have our faces melted off, they give you a little bit of it. And right when you think things are about to pop off and go crazy, all of a sudden an edit happens and we're back in another time, or we're showing another clip. And I have a theory about this as well. It ties into stuff, but it's very frustrating, especially when you're talking about the found footage problems the movie has with the camera angles. It works for the ambience of the movie, and I get that we're not supposed to see everything and they can't show us everything, but there's this added layer of annoyance with this movie, because not only is it found footage and the camera's running the entire time, and sometimes you're screaming at the camera where you're like, will you just pick up the fucking camera? Because it's upside down and the guy's running and you're trying to see what they're seeing. But it's half of it's at night, so you're not only looking at that square found footage, now you're looking at this little circle of light, because the beam of the flashlight, and you can only see, it looks like you're watching the beginning of a James Bond movie. So you're just like the entire movie like, oh shit, where is it? And then all of a sudden when you do that and they clip to something else right as you start to see stuff, you're like, God damn it. It can be very, very frustrating. But I think it does add to the overall theme of the movie. This whole second half of the movie feels like you were losing your mind. The vibe of the movie is what it's like when, like, you know, you have those nights when, if you're like me, maybe you're not fucked up like me, but you have those nights where you wake up, you keep having bad dreams, and like you keep waking up every 5 minutes, and you start to get confused about where you are, and like just those when you're super tired and you really need sleep, and that's when it happens to you, and you're just kind of confused, and you feel like that you're in this loop, or you have one of those dreams where you're trying to get somewhere and you can't make it there. That frustrating kind of feels like you're losing your mind a little bit. It's like that times 1,000, and that's what these people are being put through, and just a whole lot of stuff that is it otherworldly. What's going on? I don't know, but it is found footage. It was found on those memory cards. So these aren't just people going insane. These things happened, which makes it all the more interesting where you're going, how the fuck? While I cannot say I enjoyed my experience watching the movie because of all the frustrations that were going on, I do respect it. And I have sort of a weird analogy to explain why. If we're talking about Megan, or as I like to call Mithrigan, which is like the weirdest comparison I know, completely different movies. But when that movie came out, you know, it's a fun, oh my god, it makes you laugh, PG-13 horror movie that's just got some wild shit in it, right? This is the other end of the spectrum. But when Megan Mithrigan came out, I even tweeted, I was like, hey, look, I understand what this movie was, but I would love to, the doll's creepy looking, right? And you had a good thing going. I would love to see if they actually went for it and tried to make that movie disturbing and fucked up and actually scare you with it and make it disturbing. I would love to see what that would have looked like. The Outwaters is the antithesis to that. This movie is not there to entertain you. It doesn't give a fuck if you're entertained. It doesn't give a fuck if you're having a good time at the theater. It's there to actually disturb you and keep you up at night. And I'm going to be honest with you, it works in that. The Outwaters is there to actually do nothing but try to fuck you up and scare you, and in many aspects it really works, especially with the ending. And sometimes it's to the enjoyment of the movie's detriment, but you have to give it respect for being like, I don't give a fuck. I'm here to make you squirm. That being said, if I'm in charge here, I go, you know what? I didn't like that. Here's $40 million. Now go make something this haunting that you can actually show me, and I don't have to stare at that fucking camera angle for 2 hours. Here you go. And I bet you have a hit on your hands. On that note, I give the Outwaters a 6.5. Not enjoyable for me as an entire movie-going experience, but it scared me, and I respect it. We can rule out that it was a dream. We can rule out that they died or that it was all in their head because we have those memory cards. This has been filmed on a camera. The only way that that would not work is if you could say, well, he died. Maybe when those bombs started going off in the beginning, he died and he went to hell and he had his camera and was just filming the experience of hell. But that's a huge stretch. It's worth noting, but a huge stretch. So I think we can rule out that it was a dream, that they died, or it was all in their head because we're looking at footage of what they saw. So what do we know? We know that we have screaming Satan ass snakes. We know that we have a giant lobster-looking Lovecraftian warthog thing that we just saw a piece of. We know that we have the war and explosion sounds going off in the back. We have some sort of liquidy entrapment of blood and slime and goo. And we have obvious time tricks. There's a wormhole, or there's something going on here, and we know that because in the scene where he can see themselves and he's screaming out to them and they're just walking, he's reached back around to the other side of time somehow, and it really is like that dream where you're reaching out to someone and they can't hear you. And I also have some suspicion that that little annoying fucking blinking light is some sort of wormhole or a black hole or something that has to do with that whole thing. And all that, by the way, also makes it possible that Robbie is the one holding the axe the entire time, because all you see is the bloody legs and the axe sticking out. But the way the movie spins on itself a little bit, they kind of make it seem like maybe he's the one that's done some of this stuff. So I think it's possible that that was both him and also coming around the other end of time, and he's actually looking at himself holding the axe. I think those are possible things. We also know that we have a gas mask and a restricted area sign that he comes across right before he cuts off his own dick. That makes you think, oh my god, what if they just stumbled onto this military testing site and they've just been hallucinating and all this shit because of whatever's floating on the air. But again, the fucking camera filmed it. So we can't use that scapegoat. So here's where I think it all ties together. The earthquakes. One of my theories is that the earthquake started it, they unleashed whatever this force was, and then by the time they traveled and got to the desert, they're in the middle of the desert, they aren't connected to the world, they don't know what's going on, and all they hear is war happening. I think that the earthquakes unlocked something, and by the time they got to the desert, the war was going on back in civilization where everybody was. And I think that's what they were listening to. I think we were fighting for our extinction, or to stop our extinction, for our Independence Day. Now, as far as the time stuff goes and things like that, I think the aliens or demons attacking us were using loops of time to make us go crazy with possibly chemicals to aid in making us crazy, hence why Robbie lost his shit, may or may not have murdered his friends, and cut off his own wiener. I think it just took some time for the chemicals and shit of whatever was going from all that to reach our folks out here in the desert, and when it hit them, they start going through their own personal hells and going through the side effects of all that, which is why they end up killing each other off, maybe possibly going fucking nutso and cutting off their own wieners. Now, I think that those creatures that we see throughout the film are real, and I think that they are defects from the war that's happening over here. Now, one of my coolest theories I have about those little screaming snake things that scare the shit out of me so bad is that they're actually a part of a bigger monster that's going on back in the war. When it got wounded by our missiles or whatever, it actually got chopped off and they can't die, and they're just looking for a host to attach themselves back to, which is why they've skirted away from the battle. They're just screaming because they've been cut off, and that's why they're screaming, looking for something to attach themselves to, which is just ooey gooey fucked up, and I love it. As far as that giant lobster looking thing that we only saw a piece of, I think that the reason maybe that it didn't attack Robbie when he was looking at it all up close to it and shit is because it was injured from the war as well, and it just kind of limped off. And I think that's what's happening. We're just seeing like the little almost debris, if you will, of this war that's happening reach over to all our folks and where they are. Now, I would agree with you if you said, no, the earthquakes were a MacGuffin and the military was testing the wormholes and time travel and portal technology and shit out there in the desert, and that shit just happened to pop off while our folks accidentally stumbled into said desert. It may have popped off elsewhere as well, which would explain the loud booms and stuff, but I digress. That's the best thing I got. Is I think that those earthquakes happened, they unleashed something. By the time our people got out here remote, no contact to the outside world, isolated, they hear a war going on, and I think everything that's happening to them is just the side effects and the debris from this war, whether it's the creatures or the chemicals that are floating over that maybe they ingested somehow that are making them go crazy. Like I said, it's all happening. They're filming things that are actually happening. I think that they were axing each other. I think Robbie's probably the one that killed those people. And the time effects, the wormhole effects, I think those were actually there. Maybe that's just something that whatever creatures came here to start a war with us was just opening up left and right, and this dude was just trapped in them. I don't know. That's the sketchiest part of the whole thing. It's the best I can do. This is a hard one to figure out, man. It's a really hard one to figure out. So let's talk about one more thing that we haven't got to talk about, and that is the ending. How haunting was that shit? Apart from the little fucking screamy snake things, the most fucked up part of the whole movie is when he finds his friends piked on a stick. And how good was the effects on her head, by the way? And that was fucked up and frightening. And then he just finds this thing, picks it up, and by the way, Robbie directed and wrote the movie as well, so props to that dude. But he picks up this like shark tooth looking thing, looks like a little piece of glass or a nail or something, and he just starts cutting at himself, just digging around a little bit, you know, ouch, you're on my hair, just the tip. And then all of a sudden he starts like, hey, don't get so close. Oh my God, are you fucking doing that right now, Lorena Bobbitt? And then the next thing you know, the camera's on the ground and dick just falls down. It's a good looking dick, Peter. What movie is that from? Comment down below. But his dick just falls on the ground. He cut off his own dick. And he's just walking around like, is Taco Bell open? Look, it's Roadhouse. I don't know what the fuck's going on in his head, what he's saying, but he just starts mumbling shit. And it's not over there yet. He starts cutting his intestines out, and the way they just flop out of him, it really makes you uncomfortable, man. You're just sitting there like, I've seen intestines 1,000 times, Jim, but not like this, not like this. They're just flowing out of him, and then finally he falls over or whatever, and the movie just the Outwaters. Go fuck yourself, everybody. Go home. That was an ending. The ending was quite a payoff. Again, pretty frustrating getting to that point. Eerie fucking Indiana, man. So what do you guys think? That's why I said an idiot tries to explain the Outwaters, because that's the best I got, man. That's the best I could do. What is your theories? What is your thoughts? Comment down below. Let me know. What do you guys think about the Outwaters if you saw it? And if you do, what do you think about my theory? What's your theories? I want to know. I want someone to talk to about this movie, man. Comment down below. Let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Please click subscribe and that notification bell if you had fun. You want to be notified when we make more videos like this. And the like button as well, because that helps a bunch. I love your fucking faces, and I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Halloween never ends. Suck my fucking dick. And I don't really care what Blumhouse fucking says. Put him in a box or suck a fucking cock. You can say he's dead, but we all know he's not. Yeah. So let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS. Cause Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, yeah.